Excellent!
You think our heads are good?
I certainly hope they are.
I mean, not the heads of our beer or the heads of our body, but the... Well, yes, the heads of our body.
You mean
just
like how much distance there is
the
between
body
the
on
top
top
of your head and the top of the frame?
talking about height clearance.
I'm like pretty much good. I can even like start
Between-
cropping a little bit if I just sit up all the way.
Well, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying sometimes I get excited and I raise up a couple inches. on top of my-
Sometimes that's an understatement. Kyle.
That's true. I always raise up when I'm excited. But anyway,
I think
We're live? Have we
we
been
should.
live this
Yeah,
whole
we
time?
have been live.
Holy
this
shit.
entire discussion has been live.
awesome. What a great way to start the show.
Hey
everyone.
Oh, yeah. That was simultaneous. Hey guys, and welcome to Awesome Hardware.
Yes.
This is our weekly live show. We do it on Tuesday evenings at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time, aka 12:30 a.m. UTC.
I wouldn't start with that.
UCT.
I wouldn't start with
What?
12 a.m.
12:30 a.m.
12:30.
I'm trying to give our international audience a better
Okay.
frame of reference if they do want to watch it. We're like,
Yeah, that makes sense.
like we can catch people in Australia in the morning, and I think people who are like in England and that sort of thing like late at night.
Right.
But yeah.
Technically, we're streaming all the time then.
But we do stream this live on twitch.tv/awesomehardware. Thanks to all you guys who are already watching us live right now. We welcome you. We hope that you enjoy. And on with the show. Let's start off with some announcements.
I don't have any.
You have 0 announcements?
No.
Okay.
Other than I'm still selling shirts.
You're still okay. So Kyle, if you guys were part of the show last week, Kyle has these new shirts, and they're selling like hotcakes. You still have some more of those?
I actually
Nice.
have one for you in my room.
Really?
I do.
Why? Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's very kind of you.
Yeah, I forgot to give it to you last week, but it's there for you.
So yeah, you can buy Kyle's shirts on Kyle's store, which is Awesome Sauce Network something store.
We're gonna get index cards for you.
We should.
We'll put it right beneath the camera.
Cue cards will be very helpful for me.
One of these days. Johnson, it's awesomesaucenetwork.com/store.
Okay. You can also buy my shirts at store.paulshardware.net. I'm wearing a Timmy Tech TV shirt actually today. This one.
Nice.
He sent this over. So thanks, Timmy, for sending this shirt over. They also come from the same source
Your head's getting a little
as
cut
my
off.
store. Well, because I was trying to get the.
See, you're getting excited again. You're getting excited. Get less excited. Do you need to lower your chair at all, or are you cool with having top of your head chopped off?
I'm good.
It's just because you're
I can
practically
see
bald,
my head
so...
right there. All right, I lowered my chair. I'm
Okay.
shorter now.
All right, you're
I
good.
think this really was because Kyle felt short.
No,
That was really the.
I'm just a nice person, so I was saving your head.
That's very kind of you.
You're welcome.
Timmy Tech TV shirts are on TimmyTechTV.com, I think. At
I'm
least
sure
they
they
better
are.
be. That's what he put on the shirt. But yeah, if you want my
Worst
shirts with my
typo
logo
ever.
on them, which I'm not having to wearing today, that's store.paulshardware.net. All right, enough shirt sales.
Yes.
Let us proceed. We're gonna move into my first segments, guys. We're using OBS today, not XSplit, which means you're not gonna get lower thirds. So you're just gonna
right.
have to listen to what we say to know what segment we're on.
XSplit was being finicky with us today.
XSplit was being finicky. We still haven't set it up over here like perfectly. So like we've been using XSplit at my place, and we've been using OBS at Kyle's place. The trade-off there is that the OBS captures locally are 1080, so the re-uploads are 1080, whereas XSplit captures locally at 720, which is a little bit weirder. Anyway,
Meh.
but
Black magic.
my first segment today is actually a pretty lengthy one. I'm going to be doing a lot of talking.
Sorry,
I'm
I'm
going
being
to be doing a
five.
lot of talking in today's show about video games, also with the tech hardware, of course, mixed in there as well.
Sure.
So let's start off with the big news that came out. Was this today? Oops, I pressed the button twice.
May 12th.
This
That's
was
yesterday.
today. All right, Assassin's Creed Syndicate has been officialized, right? Syndicate.
Is Logan
Now-
going to sue them for copyright infringement?
It's very similar to Tech
hope so.
Syndicate. I can see where they got this idea.
Trademark that word.
Apparently
right
the
there.
Zoom commands aren't working here. So here's a story over on Tech Report about this. They have a debut trailer, which I might play right here, possibly. And it... All right, so we're gonna get some first impressions here. There have been some people who have played a little bit of a game demo. There's of course a look at the city itself, and it looks really pretty. It's set in 1868 London. There's a new pair of protagonists for this one. Their names are Jacob and Evie
Let's wake
Fry.
them up then, shall we?
And this is probably choppy right now because I have so many tabs open that it's probably not playing as smoothly as it could.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, though, you guys can kind of get a good visual feel for it. Now, I know there's a lot of you guys who are probably expecting me to just start tearing into the potential new Assassin's Creed, and don't worry, I'm coming to that. But I wanted to start with kind of the overview first of kind of just what's been talked about, what's been shown, and kind of give you guys a little rundown. All right, so 1868 London, you've got the traditional Assassin's Creed gameplay, so it's open world. There's lots of assassinating. You've got the traditional stuff of like climbing things and killing people and stealth mode and all that good stuff. 1868 London means it's going to have more of a steampunky kind of vibe.
Right.
So we're looking at like early Industrial Revolution type stuff going on.
It looks kind of like it gives off of a Sherlock Holmes kind of vibe from the trailer.
Now, one of the early reviews, just of kind of the first looks at it, was saying, whereas Assassin's Creed Black Flag had and even Assassin's Creed Unity, if you're only looking at the setting and everything, had a very kind of distinct look and feel to it and everything. 1868 London and the steampunky era has actually been done by some other games as well. So they have a little bit more competition, I guess, going up against them. But anyway, your open world allows you to run through 7 different boroughs in London. You can do transportation via trains as well as horse and buggies.
Sweet.
So you can actually, there are vehicles and you can get into a horse and buggy and maybe do horse and buggy races. I don't know, something like that. You have this new weapon that you guys might see down here. That he's
I wonder if
holding.
you can throw people out of their buggies, just like GTA status.
That would be interesting,
right?
Yeah. So let me run it. So here's some screenshots. This is from a Business Insider article on this. Now, just to run down some of the stuff. So this new weapon that you have is called a hidden blade, and it works as a combination blade/firearm/hook shot.
Very versatile.
So that's a pretty big, like, just if you're looking at Assassin's Creed traditionally and how you get around in the game, adding a hook shot, I'm sure, is going to be pretty interesting because, it's one of those types of things where you can stand in one place. Here's a better look at the hidden blade in this picture. And
stealthy. Doesn't look very hidden when there's like that huge thing wrapped around his forearm. But it's it's still the blade itself, I guess.
And then here's a picture of him using the hook shot. I couldn't find a good video clip of this.
You got a top hat in this one. That's
you do have a top hat, and I think that really adds to the. It's going to add to the cosplay elements in the future.
That means everyone calls you sir in the game.
All right, now and the hook shot. I think that's a pretty cool idea. Just getting around via hook shot, and I'm sure it's going to be.
Well, that's kind of like BioShock Infinite had the hook shot type thing, the grapple.
That was fascinating to use.
Yes.
So you got London streets and rain and horse-drawn carriages, and here's horse-drawn carriages in action, and you can ride on top of horse-drawn carriages while they're running around.
Nice. I have to say, Paul, this is the nicest GTA 5 mod I've seen today.
It is a very interesting GTA 5 mod. You can still get gangs. They're known as rooks, so you can get people to follow you around and help you fight.
It is a GTA 5 mod.
The fighting is very gruesome, and Jacob has this brutal weapon from Nepal called a kukri.
Say that carefully.
Kukri.
Kukri.
Kukri, which is like kind of a short curved knife, which is kind of interesting that he likes to use. And you can punch people, and there's another picture of London, and blah, 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 blah. And then at the end they have a picture of Assassin's Creed.
Nice. It's a Nepalese knife with an inwardly curved blade, similar to a machete.
Oh, nice.
Uses both a tool and a weapon in Nepal.
Excellent. You're really on the spot with the looking up information there, Kyle.
I know.
All right, but let's be real here. Let's be honest. Assassin's Creed Unity launched how long ago?
Less than a year.
That was November. That was November 2014.
Yep. And
Assassin's Creed Unity was, I will paraphrase Luke here, and Luke, if you guys watch any of Linus's stuff, Luke has been an insane Assassin's Creed fan. He didn't play Unity. I think he said he didn't play it at all.
He's played all the other ones, I think.
He just dropped it and ditched it.
Right.
Now, just to show you guys where I'm coming from, I played all the way through Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and I played a tiny little bit of gameplay with the other ones. So I can't say that I'm a long-term Assassin's Creed fan, but I did have a lot of fun with Black Flag. And I like the game style and everything, and I think for a living room game with a controller, it was a lot of fun. And the PC version has a lot going on to it too.
Sure.
But let's step back a little bit and let's dig up some old negativity, so to speak. I just want to remind you guys the hole that Ubisoft dug themselves with Assassin's Creed Unity and the reasons why people were not as stoked about that.
Yeah.
Now, after the fallout and the flack, after Assassin's Creed Unity launch, there was actually, and I have this article here that I found on Game Rant, which I thought was kind of interesting, which says This was published 6 months ago, by the way. This was published at the time that Assassin's Creed Unity came out. And this is Ubisoft Montreal dealing with some of the fallout from that. And they're saying, hey guys, we're going to spend more dev time on future games. It says
and
right
it
here.
appears they have.
Yeah.
Because
when it comes to annual franchises, most believe that short, oftentimes rushed development timeframes typically lead to decrease in quality. That was one of the big things they blamed on Assassin's Creed Unity.
Right.
So basically they're saying, hey guys, don't worry, we hear you, and in the future we're going to spend more time. So 6 months later, we have heard about the
next game
the series, which isn't launching till October. Did I even mention that? The actual launch date? Launch date is October 23rd. That's what was announced. That's for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And then they have said autumn for PC as well. So hopefully that gives us, through the end of November? When does winter start? Sometime around there.
Yeah. But that's like a year. That's
pretty
much a year.
But let's run down. And there was an article on it, I think.
Less than a year, actually.
So here's an article on Polygon.
That's creepy.
Specifically about Ubisoft owning up to Assassin's Creed Unity and some of the issues with it. And right there, of course, in the image, you can see one of the things, which is graphical artifacts that cropped up all over the place and caused the gameplay right out of the gate to be not quite so great. Now, so here's what made Assassin's Creed Unity so terrible. Well, it was unbelievably broken. There were visual glitches. Collision detection was broken. The main character would fall through the ground as you were playing them. That wasn't a good thing. There were game crashes in co-op, so you can't play the game with others. Co-op being, by the way, we'll come back to co-op. You could get trapped in hay carts, apparently. I never see this, but you get in a hay cart and you just be stuck there with no way to get out. You could have problems bringing up the main menu, if you could even pull up the main menu. So you could crash the game just by pulling up the menu.
Yikes.
It could crash on all platforms. If you went into the menu, if you did manage to get in and did something unexpected like press continue, might crash the game.
Was this just stuff that were they able to patch any of this? Or?
So they've done work, yes, in past months, but these were launch day glitches that persisted, many of them, after launch day. And we'll come back to some, believe me, there's a lot of stuff to talk about here.
Sure.
And I'm sorry if you guys already went through a long, painful process trying to remember all this stuff. I'm digging it all back up. All right, so they prioritized a fix that screws you out of more money. So on launch day, they did have a patch. Launch day patch. And guess what that launch day patch did? It fixed the Helix credits, which was the in-game spending real money store.
The one no one wanted patched.
Yeah, so the one that nobody really cared about and was actually a negative aspect of the game, in fact, which was that they had microtransactions, or an enhanced feature for microtransactions. And the day one patch that they did to fix the game fixed that for microtransactions, but didn't fix all of the aforementioned visual glitches and all that kind of stuff.
Nice Ubisoft.
The primary feature, one of the most talked about features of Assassin's Creed Unity, was online multiplayer, and it was pretty much broken and unplayable at launch due to connection issues. People would get disconnected all the time.
Yeah.
Here's the biggest one for me, was that they prevented reviews. They put a moratorium on reviews until 12 hours after the game launched.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Just so they could patch things up?
Yes. No, because they knew that they had set a launch date that was too ambitious, that the game wasn't ready, but they went forward with it anyway. So they pushed through that in order to prevent these early reviews from coming out and saying, hey guys, don't buy this right now, it's broken.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let any of the reviewers actually publish their review until 12 hours after the game launched. So the reviews all went up at sometime in the afternoon on launch day, whereas the game launched that morning.
Where millions of people had already bought it.
Yeah, and so people already bought it, and they weren't able to get that early warning, and that's why you go and read reviews and all that good stuff. And to me, that was the most egregious thing that they did, because I thought that was pretty shady.
How do they enforce that, though? I mean...
Well, I mean, That's another subject, but we'll continue from there. So the embargoes forbade sites from publishing reviews up until 12 hours after the game was released. A few more items on the list. Multimedia marketing. There were chests in the game that required you to sign up for a Uplay account if you didn't already have one. And there were other chests where if you went to the game, in order to open the chest, you had to download a companion app for your smartphone and play a little mini game on the phone to open the chest in the game, which basically. Just like
do this, do that.
Yeah, which people didn't like. And then another big gripe was no female characters, or no playable female characters, and then that came through with people started to ask Ubisoft about that, and they came back and they kind of gave a wishy-washy answer.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, hey, yeah, we'll do that next time. It was, we couldn't do it because it was too difficult to animate or something like that, which I think made it worse than it actually was.
Yeah.
Yes. So, okay, running down that whole list.
Females are impossible to animate.
Now we have Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
Yes.
And with all that kind of positive stuff we talked about at the very beginning, with that it looks nice and maybe the setting's kind of cool and you can do some new stuff, there is obviously all of that flack that they caught in the past 6 to 8 months about all the stupid stuff they did with Assassin's Creed Unity.
Right.
And it's really a question now of like, how does the audience respond? Because it was such a beloved franchise, and it fell so far so quickly. Now are they changing that curve? Are they taking it back up, or are they doing? I don't know.
I think if you're someone like Luke and you've been a longtime fan of the franchise, then I think what happened isn't enough to just have the person completely look away from this new title.
Yeah.
I think people who have been a longtime fan of Assassin's Creed are still going to check it out and read the reviews. I mean, that's the least you could possibly do is read the reviews on the game to see if it sucks or not.
I was going to try to play this video about a NOS commercial pulled up. And
I think,
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, sorry. I think that there's that small group of people who are very, they take everything personally, and so once you get on their shit list as a developer, they will never play one of your games again, or anything in that franchise. But I think for the majority of people, if it's a good game, if it's just a good game, they want to play it.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just going to be harder this time around for Ubisoft to get back the people's trust. That's the biggest issue.
I'm going to turn us up in the microphones a little bit, guys.
La, 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 la,
I heard we're a little low in chat. So if we're still low, let us know. Or if we're loud, let us know that too. Strader says we're good. So
okay, cool.
I might have turned us up just a little touch there. Yeah. So some good points there. And
you played Black Flag, so
I played Black Flag,
and you know that Unity was kind of a flop. So where are you coming from a semi Assassin's Creed player when in regards to this new title?
Well, I always try to lean towards I try to be positive. I feel like I'm a positive guy, at least for the most part.
Yeah.
And so I want there to be another new fun game to play.
Yeah.
And if Assassin's Creed Syndicate is awesome...
They're saying I'm too loud, sorry.
Now you're too loud? If Assassin's Creed Syndicate is awesome, and they have fixed a lot of the gameplay issues from Unity, and it comes out with a smooth launch, and people have a good time, I think that will be best, and that's what I hope for, and that's what I want them to do.
Right.
Now, looking at how quickly they're coming out with this, which seems to me to be kind of an apology for Unity, or at least they wanted to bounce back with something positive... Yeah. To kind of push that more into the distant past.
They want to bury it.
Yeah, that could be a good thing if they pull it off. But by coming up with a new game so quickly, honestly, the scheduled launch is less than a year after.
Do you have any
Unity?
Do you have any concern that because of this really quick turnaround for this upcoming title, that we might see a repetition of Unity? Of this being rushed?
We should say what's up to Ed. Ed was here. Hey Ed,
what
thanks
up?
For joining us real quick. Ed from Sapphire, but he said he had to go. So sorry for missing.
Bye Ed.
Kyle, now you're too quiet. You turned yourself way down.
Oh sorry. I just figured I was. They were making it seem like I was making them go deaf.
It's alright. All right. I think we should be alright.
All right. How about now, guys? Let me know. But yeah, I think I don't know. It's a really quick turnaround, but. It just brings concern to me, are they trying to bury it so much to the point where they're rushing things again?
Yeah.
Or
I don't want to see them shoot themselves in the foot by trying to come out with something so quickly that they shoot themselves in the foot again. Right. But who knows? I mean, the popularity of the games before it, maybe they've invested more resources in it or done whatever it takes to... And also, the idea right now that we're looking at that says, Assassin's Creed Syndicate is coming out, and it's been less than a year. They must have been working on this less than a year. That's not the case.
No, yeah.
Unity, for example, they were working on for a good, I think, according to the devs, it was a 4-year project.
Yeah.
Going back to its original inception.
Right.
So these are all ongoing, but the release cycle is what's important, and it is a shorter release cycle compared to the last one. So we'll see if they can bounce back, and we are going to come back to this topic a little bit later on in the show.
Cool.
because obviously the question is, do we forgive them? And we're gonna return to that. All right, let's move on to another game taking a slightly different tactic this time around, and actually releasing its lifting the embargo for its reviews a full week before it launches.
Okay.
And that is The Witcher 3: Wild Hunt.
Sweet.
Have you played any of the Witcher games?
No, I have not.
Neither have I.
But I really wish to get the third one so I can benchmark it.
I want to get the third one at least for benchmarking, but I've talked to a few people about this, and Witcher is one of those games that it has a very dedicated and loyal following. It might be a smaller group, but I feel like any game that has the potential to get somebody into it that much must have have its hooks. So that kind of scares me about it. Like if it's too good, and I start playing it,
it just
and
doesn't feel like my type of game. It feels
too
more
much
like a
time.
Skyrim game, and I wasn't a huge fan of Skyrim. But
so for you guys who haven't played Witcher, we'll give you a brief explanation, at least according to the news articles, for what it's about. This one from The Verge describes it as an open-world playable Game of Thrones, which is certainly a appealing way of putting it. But it's more of an adult game. It's very gory and gruesome in a lot of different ways.
Right.
The graphics look spectacular.
Sure.
As they should. That is one thing that the earlier two Witchers were known for, was their graphics. That's why they're very popular for benchmarking and that sort of thing.
Yep.
And you have a medieval world. You have like knights and magic and dragons and stuff and creatures. And again, it's an adult game. I don't know if there's any more pictures. Oh, look, there's a preview. I wonder if this will play if I hit the play button. Or if it's going to play another stupid... Yeah, it's giving me this stupid commercial again. I don't want that.
Is my question.
What?
Like if someone asked me to explain the difference between Skyrim and Witcher, the series,
that would be a good question.
I'm not too sure.
Yeah. Well, I don't really know, because neither of those games are games that I've spent extensive amounts of time with. All right, so PC Gamer has 5 observations from the full game of Witcher, so I wanted to run down these. Well, lists of 5s are very popular.
Yeah.
All right, so actually one thing we should maybe point out is that Witcher is by CD Projekt Red. That was a mistake that we made last week.
Correction. As
we were discussing GOG Galaxy, the new Good Old Games Galaxy service, which is a Steam competitor.
Right.
And we were speculating that it's not owned by a video game developer, and so that might be a good thing. But actually we were corrected pretty quickly, so thanks to those of you guys who pointed this out to us. But GOG Galaxy is owned by CD Projekt Red. CD Projekt Red develops The Witcher, among other games.
Yeah.
Oh, that video just disappeared. Why did was that just a commercial? Did I just click to like, hey, click here and watch a commercial?
Probably.
That's stupid.
Probably no one heard what you just said because they were watching an ad.
So the Northern Realms are bleak, right?
Sure.
Okay. The Northern Realms are beautiful.
Yeah.
That seems almost contradictory.
Seems legit.
Geralt is the main guy, the protagonist. He's a heavy old lunk. It's just interesting descriptives that they have going on here.
Right.
Combat scenarios, they vary dramatically. He said he found himself rolling around like a fool, mixing up Geralt's 5 sign abilities: Fire, Persuasion, Shield, Telekinetic Blast, and Magical Trap with sword flourishes.
Nice.
Anyway. Witcher 3 is not a fashion contest.
Okay.
He's just pointing that out. As I think this goes back to Dragon Age or some other games. There's not fancy gowns and that sort of things, and there's not a whole lot of. He's supposed to be tough and gritty. So I think what he's saying is there's not as much like character customization as
armor and stuff, right?
And also, The Witcher 3 is long. Yes. Well, which is
very astute observation.
Which is meant to say that it's a type of game with very long multi-stage quests. Yeah. It's a very involved RPG and that sort of thing. So that's all really cool. And again, a game that I think we'd like to hear you guys' feedback for, if you guys are interested in that game, especially if you've played the other Witcher games. What you liked about them, what your hopes might be for the next one.
And what the difference is between it and Skyrim, please.
And Kyle
Cell Processing said that there's not as much sex in Skyrim.
Okay.
Which makes sense because this video you actually just pulled up.
So one thing, if you guys aren't sold on The Witcher 3 yet, we're going to pull up here really quick.
This will sell anyone. Just show them this clip and they'll buy the game like that.
If you guys watch Clueless Gamer, Conan O'Brien's segment, which is pretty hilarious a lot of the time. So he actually gets really early access to some games. So this came out...
Well, he's kind of
last
a
week.
name in the industry.
They played Witcher 3 for a little over 10 minutes, and I'll play this part a little bit further on here, and I don't know if you guys can hear it. where you have sex in the game. Don't worry, it's censored.
It's like the first. It's like the intro.
Yeah,
it's the first thing you do.
And I think you defeat this guy. He's gonna fight this guy, and then they have sex on a stuffed unicorn.
Right.
That's the.
Well, you don't want to give it away.
No. Yeah, and Conan obviously is very. So he's. I think I started a little bit too early. Trust me, the sex on the unicorn is coming.
Stay tuned. I'm gonna title my half of the show.
There you go. All right. So he saved the damsel in distress, and now there they go. Sex on a unicorn.
Going for it.
In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and open up a tasty beverage. It's very like it's like if you're looking for a Game of Thrones parallel here, there's like dialogue going on and stuff.
And they're brother and sister, right?
What? That wasn't mentioned.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what that. So Conan,
assuming.
And then Conan's hilarious, I think. They have the time lapses of the flowers blooming and lava, and turtles doing it, and then I just want this hair all messed up. It's pretty hilarious.
That's great.
Fantastic. All right.
Love it.
Witcher 3.
I'm buying it.
You are buying it? It comes out next week.
I mean, I don't know. Probably not.
Or later this week. Sorry. I think it's the 17th. That's one of those key things you'd think I would have put in my notes is when the game actually launches. No, I did put game launches next week. I believe it's the 17th. Okay. Yeah, sorry guys. People were asking about my beer. I was drinking my pre-show beer, which is another Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. I have opened this, which is from Stone Brewery. They do the Arrogant Bastard that you've seen us drink before. This is from their Spotlight series, and this is Imperial Mutt Brown Ale. So it's a brown ale.
Imperial Mutt.
And they wanted to point out here on the back, this beer does not actually contain any dogs.
Well, thank God for that.
So thank God.
Lost Coast, they do Downtown Brown?
Yes, they do Downtown Brown. Oh, wait, no, I'm thinking of a different... Arrogant Bastards... Wait.
That's Stone.
Yeah, it's from Stone.
This is Stone?
This is Stone.
Oh, okay.
Where did you bring up Lost Coast? You confused me.
I thought you said Lost Coast. What's the name of the beer?
Imperial Mutt Brown Ale.
I have no idea where I got Lost Coast from.
By Stone. This is 9%. Wow, that's a...
You always go with the high... the BAC.
That's pretty heavy for a brown ale.
Nice.
All right.
Nice and I'm drinking a Deception. Well, I was drinking a Deception. It's almost gone. It's a Deception from Black Market Brewing. It's basically a blonde ale with brewed with a hint of coconut and lime. It's actually really tasty.
We haven't had cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Prost. Cheers to all of you out there. Thank you for joining us today.
Pound the rest of this beer.
Oh,
Did you see that long, hearty pound?
That was
the whole beer.
Impressive.
Right there.
I'm amazed you're able to finish that off.
I know you are.
All right. What's next? More video game news. This is, like I said, you guys, my segments are a little out of... Usually I try to make them roughly the same size, but really my gaming segment just... The games report blew up today. All right. One more story on the games report, and then move on to another, also game-related segment.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Kyle's making funny noises.
I'm going to make...
Square Enix.
Pour a beer.
Oh, I thought you were going to
take a beer.
I thought you were taking a pee break.
Nope.
It's like, that's early.
Nope.
Square Enix. If you guys are familiar with Square Enix.
Final Fantasy?
Yeah, Final Fantasy is probably what they're most known for. But they do a lot of other franchises as well. They've announced their profits or their revenue. They did their yearly, where they have to say how much money they made and all that good stuff, which is from the end of March to the next year at the end of March. End of Q1, basically. All right, so their video game division posted a yearly revenue of 111.9 billion yen. Pretty impressive. That's about 932.7 million, which is up 18.4% from last year. Operating income was 17.3 billion yen, 144 million, which is an increase of 61.3% compared to the prior year.
Wow.
And profits rose 49% from 6.6 billion yen to 9.8 billion yen.
Wow.
Or 55 million up to 81.6 million. So I guess point is Square Enix is doing...
Amazingly.
Did very well. That's pretty good. And consider that no consoles launched this year, and that they really haven't done a lot of actual launches of new games or anything.
How is this? Does it explain why?
So yes, it explains.
Good.
A lot of their profits are coming from mobile sales as well as MMO subscriptions. So they have a couple on MMOs that are out there. One of the biggest ones is probably Final Fantasy XIV,
right?
Which they relaunched kind of. And Apparently that's doing very well. They didn't say any specific numbers for that. They said they have been making favorable progress. Final Fantasy XIV as well as Dragon Quest X. And then they also do, I had no idea this was a thing, but they also do some mobile games, smartphone games called Schoolgirl Strikers. Which sounds like a porno if you ask me. Final Fantasy Record Keeper and Kairi Million Arthur. Okay. Also did very well. Anyway, the reason I'm bringing this story up at all is because there are some games coming out soon that you guys might be interested in, and the fact that the company as a whole is doing well, I feel like gives them better... I feel like any company that's doing well, like look at Blizzard. I feel like they're a good example of this. They're a company, I mean, granted, there's arguments we could get into about Blizzard, but I think they're a very financially secure company, and I think that gives them the ability to say, we're going to launch our games when we want to launch our games, we're going to spend as much time developing as we want to, and we're going to make sure we come out with a good product.
Yeah.
And I hope, and Square Enix has been around for a really long time, so hopefully they go along with that as well.
Yeah.
But two of their biggest games aren't even out yet this year.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, we're looking at last year's numbers, but Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is another Tomb Raider game, which is coming out, as well as Just Cause 3.
Ooh.
Which I actually might jump into.
That sounds fun.
Because we were playing Just Cause 2, the multiplayer, prior to GTA, and
the mod,
it was pretty crazy. We had some random fun times with that. So it made me think, hey, maybe Just Cause 3 might be something I want to jump into as well, because that's a series I haven't played too much of.
Yep.
Other games that they have in development, another one that I'm excited about is Final Fantasy 15. Which I really don't know that much about yet. I haven't delved into. I'm a fan of the Final Fantasy series, but I haven't played one like a lot since like 10. I think Final Fantasy 10 was the last one I played.
I thought you said since you were 10.
Since I was 10.
Big difference there.
That was a pretty big difference. So when I was 10, I played Final Fantasy 1. Didn't even have 1 on it because I was on Nintendo.
You're old.
But also Deus Ex Mankind Divided, so the next Deus Ex game, which is a very, very popular franchise.
Yeah.
Always really high quality games there. Dragon Quest Heroes and Star Ocean 5.
Sweet.
Those last ones I'm not as familiar with. All right.
Those monthly subscriptions, man.
Moving right along.
Nice.
You can pre-order Just Cause 3 on Steam, says Mouseman88 right now. So, all right. So that one's coming up very, very soon. We're moving into that time of year when all the games come out, and you're like, there's too many games, and it's the holiday season. Like, how do I... And then you wait till... Well, I guess...
Self-control!
No, see, I look at it now, and I'm like, I'm so busy, and there's all these games, but I bet if you're like in high school or even college,
it's just like
and
party time.
And you've got like, that break after you're done with finals or whatever, and you got a good 2-3 weeks.
It's just heaven.
Yeah, between semesters. Yeah, then you're just...
Or even if you're in school, like you do your homework and you have like the rest of your life to play games.
Or you just skip class, don't go to class, play video games.
I never did that.
Don't do that. That's a bad idea.
Nope.
I have no experience with that. Okay. That's the end of the games report.
Sweet.
But that's not the end of talking about video games.
Whee!
I have another sort of segment. So originally I was going to make games
segment.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. My segments got all whacked out today.
Yeah.
So my next kind of segment is just going to be about some GTA 5 mods.
Oh.
And I originally had some mods that I was going to include in the games report, but then other games news just kept coming up.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, let me drop some GTA 5 mods in on you guys. So if you guys haven't watched Kyle or I play video games on Twitch,
you should.
It's super fun. But we've been doing that at least on Tuesday nights after the show, and we'll be doing that tonight probably as well, but it'll be like an hour and a half, 2 hours after the show ends, so bear that in mind.
Right.
And I've been trying to at least get one other night in each week, and I've been keeping up with that fairly well. So I played a little bit on Saturday night this week. It was a lot of fun. But I'm so fascinated with these mods. Now, the thing about the GTA 5 mods is you can only play them in single player right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're ever going to be able to play them in multiplayer. Like, I feel like with GTA 4 that was a thing. I'll be honest, I didn't delve into enough GTA 4 mods and multiplayer. I barely even played GTA 4 multiplayer, to be honest.
I think it's going to come down to the point when Rockstar no longer really cares about GTA 5 as much for PC. I think when they start developing, well, they probably are developing GTA 6 already.
Oh, yeah.
But I think once it's no longer fresh or new or buzzworthy and GTA 5 just becomes the next GTA 4, I think that's when people can start getting away with doing multiplayer mods, and Rockstar won't be policing that as much because it does require resources to some degree.
Okay.
But for now, I think it's still their baby, right? It's the release just happened a few weeks ago, so I think it might be a while until we can mod freely in multiplayer.
Well, this first mod that I want to show you guys is a Tsunami mod. No, Tsunami.
Tsunami. You said it like the whitest white guy
very
ever.
White way of saying.
There's a tsunami coming your way.
Come through here. Now, this is, if you guys play on GTA 5 on consoles, this was already a mod. They've remade it. But this allows you to go down. No, it doesn't allow you to. This basically raises the ocean level significantly in the game, so that most of the stuff's underwater. You can see like the tops of the buildings in downtown over there. And there's a few videos of this that have popped up, so I was going to show you one of them, assuming it's still loaded up. So here's one from MK Elite, and he set this up so you can see even up here in the hills, kind of above the town, you can already see the water coming in, which is kind of interesting. And then, of course, since this is PC, you can combine this with other mods potentially. So he's just swimming around a little bit. I'm going to try to jump. And so there's still waves.
So he's like in the middle of Los Santos right now. He's like in the streets.
Middle of Los Santos. But yeah, see, he'll dive down.
Okay.
And you can see all the streets down below you. And as you're moving around, it's still spawning all the units like in the same places where they would be. So there's constantly like cars with people getting out of them because they're drowning and stuff like that as he's swimming around. And he has some fun, I think, later on, like spawning.
So finally, a reason to level up your underwater skill.
Yeah, apparently.
Because before that was completely useless, and now there's
a benefit you can get here is that you can spawn whales and everything using the other mods.
Oh, and the whales actually now land. They drop from the sky and land into the water.
And the weather still goes and affects like the waves and all that kind of stuff.
Can you ride a? I'm sure you could ride a whale.
There's this weird thing that happened later on, which is like he's here and you can see he comes over and there's just this wall where the water starts. Watch as he's coming towards it here.
Was that it in the distance?
It'll be up ahead of him here. Hold on. Yeah, see the lines?
Yeah.
Obviously, all right, so now you can see the top of the water.
So you get kind of a...
And then suddenly he's in the water.
A boundary.
That or he cut it. I don't know. It was kind of weird.
That's
but yeah,
really
I mean, mods introduce glitches. That's not
sure
uncommon at all. But anyway, there's
killer whales in there too.
They put the killer whales.
Nice.
All right, so here's another mod. This one is the JB700, which is the James Bond car.
Okay.
This one's pretty simple and straightforward, but basically this modder, the Taltigolt is the YouTuber. He modded the JB700 with working weapons and spikes and an ejector seat. So if you watch the Bond films,
not too familiar with the older ones.
Oh, really? Well, he's got guns on the front,
mm-hmm.
so he can use those guns to shoot things, stuff that's in front of him. Kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And then it's got. I didn't find a good spot in this video to show it, but he got spikes on the side of the tires, so you can roll up next people and pop their tires.
Nice.
Kind of fun. And then I couldn't find a good example of it until the very end of the video, but it also has an ejector seat.
Okay.
Which I thought was kind of.
What is that fire thing?
He's on fire. He probably has the mod on where you have like invincible and you can't die. Or maybe not, I'm not sure. So there is a point later on here where he does pop out of the ejector seat, but there's not a very good shot of it. I think it's coming up right here, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
The cop's chasing him. Yeah, see, there's him popping out of the ejector seat. And poor Franklin just smacks on the ground. Anyway, all right.
Not a very James Bond landing.
I have 2 more mod videos to show you guys real quick, and then we'll move on to the next segment.
All right.
So here's Angry Planes. This is one that I really want to try out.
Is that like Angry Birds, but with planes?
Yeah, as far as I can tell with Angry Planes, it gives you... It's just spawns tons and tons of planes up in the sky, and they're aggressive. Like
and they're
flown by crazy angry people.
Okay.
So...
Jihad?
Yeah, it's just... Look. You look up and there's planes crashing everywhere. Flying around and explosions.
Baka.
Epic scene at 40 seconds, apparently. Let's check that out.
All right.
Oh, geez.
Wow.
So and every type of plane in the game too, apparently. It's kind of interesting. And you're just
combine that with the pedestrian riot mod, and you've got
hell on
earth.
Kyle?
You've got hell on earth.
You didn't look at what was coming next, did you?
No.
All right, so this isn't the same. This isn't exactly what you said, but
hell
the beauty of the mods is that you can combine multiple ones of them together. So going back, this is from MK Elite, who's the same guy who did that underwater video show that I was showing you. So this is him doing Carmageddon, Angry Planes, and the flying mod all in the same. The flying mod just lets you fly individually. Yeah. Like as a dude.
Right.
We'll see if this one plays because it wasn't playing earlier. Hold on one moment, guys. This one's kind of locked up on me. Let's see if I can reload it.
Do I have time to go to the bathroom?
See if there's a... Really, Kyle?
Just kidding. I went before we started streaming.
You did. You went right before, so that's why I would be surprised.
I have to go again.
All right. It's playing now.
Whoa. Look at that. Look at that Cirque du Soleil shit.
I know. It's pretty amazing.
Oh!
So this is Carmageddon, which spawns tons of cars and angry drivers.
Yep.
Angry Planes, which is kind of like the Carmageddon, but for planes. And then he also threw the flying mod in there.
Plane-mageddon.
So that he could fly around and...
It doesn't look like he's doing much flying other than being hit and then being tossed into the sky.
Yeah.
Wow. Was that a Hulk mod?
I haven't seen this character skin before, but apparently if you do all of the exercising in the game, maybe this is what happens. It's super buff.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, it's just him flying around kind of crazy. And there's just constant explosions and everything. So this is why, like, I really want to combine this with online. Like,
yeah.
Like I feel like what we try to do most of the time with online is just create these situations. All right, here's the flying thing, right?
Oh, nice.
He's just flying next to another plane. It's kind of like Neo type.
Yeah.
Flying, really.
Definitely.
But anyway, so yeah, I'm hoping at some point we get the ability to set up like private servers or something. Like obviously they want to block this type of thing from you being able to loading up a game, or to load up a game on like just a random multiplayer server. But if you could have protected servers and all that good stuff, then that'd be pretty cool.
Does Rockstar still ban you if you have mods installed or running on a private server?
Yes, as far as I know, because it's still online.
Oh, right.
If you have a mod loaded up in to the game and you're trying to access online, it will detect it and it will boot you or ban you. I don't know exactly the specific action that's taken.
That's lame.
But yeah.
I feel like this is just free advertisement for the game and Rockstar, so I'm not sure why.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but there's other things that they have to take into account, and they really have to make. You know, we've been in a couple multiplayer games where we've been like, that guy must be running mods because he's like killing people or whatever, or maybe he's just really high level. But yeah, I mean, they want to keep people from griefing. They want to make sure that the gameplay experience doesn't degrade, and there's disconnects or
people need to suck it up.
Girl, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
people are babies.
All right, so that's it.
Cool. I would like to install all of those as soon as we're done with the show.
As soon as we're done?
Yeah.
Do some live streaming with the mod.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, again, you can't do multiplayer. So.
I know.
All right. Next up, we're gonna do some sword fight.
All right.
Yeah.
What are we sword fighting about this week, Paul?
Well, sword fight is interesting this week. So I mentioned earlier. Well, we've already talked quite a bit about Assassin's Creed.
Yes.
So we're going to talk a little bit more about Assassin's Creed. We're going to do a little bit of debating about Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
And that's what Sword Fight's going to be all about. If you guys aren't familiar with Sword Fight, that's my segment where Kyle and I each take opposing sides on a controversial topic. And then I will also be posting a straw poll in the chat for you guys to vote on.
Yay.
And give us your feedback, and then we'll see who is right and who's wrong. And
I'm the best at debating. I am the master debater.
And who is dead.
Yes.
Wait, what?
Huh?
No. All right, so here's the first one, which is Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed. And the question is pretty simple. Should we forgive Ubisoft for Assassin's Creed Unity?
Never!
And good thing that at the beginning of the show, I already went over all of the terrible things that they did with Assassin's Creed Unity so that we can have a good idea. It seems like you already have an idea of which side of this argument you want to take, Kyle.
Off with the head!
Okay.
No, I'm holding a big glass that felt like a big gauntlet, so I felt like a king.
Okay. So
forgive them, please.
So wait, so you do want to forgive them?
I'm a forgiving person. I consider myself very loving and above everyone else. So I think that we should forgive them.
So
everyone makes mistakes.
Kyle's going to take the yes response that yes, we should forgive them, and Kyle, now is the time when you argue your side. You convince all the good people out there why you are correct about this.
All right, everyone in the
Yeah.
room, raise your hand if you've ever made a mistake. Yeah, okay.
I've made a mistake.
I know you're not perfect, Paul.
I know.
So,
Hard to admit.
just based on that, I see all the hands in the room raised right now. So I think, who are we to judge in that case? Poor Ubisoft, who has clearly gone down the wrong path in this one instance, but I think everyone can make a comeback, so to speak. I think that there is still a chance for redemption. Not all is lost for the Assassin's Creed franchise. I think that they could potentially make a good, solid game with, what's this new one called? Syndicate. Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
Assassin's Creed Tech Syndicate is the
It doesn't sound
full
right.
title of this next one.
But okay. So Assassin's Creed Tech Syndicate, I think, is going to be really cool. Or, at least it has the potential to. So I don't think we should just turn them away completely, because that makes us feel stupid if they actually come out with a pretty decent game, and then we're just, anti-fanboys in a way. We're like, Ubisoft sucks. Everything that they ever touch sucks. When they've clearly made some really good games in the past. So because they've made such good games, even in the Assassin's Creed franchise before, some of those games, like you said, Black Flag was a great game. I think if they've done it before, they can do it again. Obviously, they have even more resources now than they used to. So I don't think we should base their entire lifespan of creation based on one crappy title that didn't live up to our expectations.
I see. Well,
now go on with your wrong opinion.
You make a strong point there, Kyle. And I have to appreciate some of the arguments you made, despite how wrong and misguided they are.
Wow.
Now,
Wow.
let me. So here's the deal.
Okay.
Ubisoft, right? They started with, what did they start with back in the day? They did the Sands of Time, the Prince of Persia games.
Yep.
Good games, breakthrough games, but you have the classic story here of a developer getting too big for their britches, right? You look at their sort of half-hearted apologies that they did there, and they're like, we make a game and it feels like our child, and then everyone's like talking trash on our child, and it kind of hurts. I'm like, well, you got to grow up, and you got to raise your child to act right.
You have a shitty child.
You gotta smack him around every once in a while. Don't smack him around. I don't advise hitting your children.
You heard it here on Awesome Hardware.
You gotta make sure that they behave, though. You gotta make sure they fall in line. And this is not what Ubisoft did. In fact, they raised a spoiled child who was not even able to handle the simplest tasks with which it was appointed. And really, this is just it's an egregious act, and it's not something that can be forgiven. I think it's something that takes the trust that the audience has placed in them over many years, who've continued to help them not only build their business, but to build this franchise, to build this mythology, to be something larger than it actually is, something greater than the sum of its parts. And then they take it and they do what companies far too often do, turn it into a cash cow. They try to cash in. Well, you know what? It's bullshit.
Well,
well,
there you have it, folks. When in doubt, beat your kids.
That's kind of, you're paraphrasing, but I guess that's essentially what I was saying. Yeah. But I mean,
don't do that.
That's okay. As we always say in sword fight, we're taking opposite sides, and obviously there's probably a middle ground that would make more sense for either of us.
Yeah.
However,
beat your kids lightly.
Well, you preempted me anyway, because I was already saying, like, you asked me earlier in the show about my feelings, and I was like, I want it to be good and all this stuff. So I felt really disingenuous.
I didn't even need any of that information.
I know.
To plan this attack.
And then you took the opposite side, so that I had already negated my own argument.
That's right.
Very clever, Kyle. Very, very clever.
Strategery.
Super clever. All right, but of course we need to know what you guys think. So let's.
What do we got
here? And I'm gonna hit F5 first.
Oh no!
Let's refresh this. Make sure. I think it refreshes automatically.
No, condemn them to hell.
Wow. So I was right. I was right. And people are like, "Screw you, Ubisoft." Everyone has a very, very limited amount of tolerance for. I mean, it was a terrible, terrible launch.
Yeah.
It's really
right.
That type of thing sticks with people, and.
Yep.
I mean, it's always hard to say with these types of kind of off the cuff polls of you guys, like how many people are just being like, ah, screw that or whatever, and how many people are
Genuinely
genuinely feel it. But I mean, it does go to show it pays to be careful.
Yeah.
And
Take your
I
time.
will say, I'll 100% say this. I would much rather be slightly disappointed by a game being delayed. Like, we talked a lot of trash about GTA 5 being delayed and delayed and delayed, and it was really delayed. But when they did launch it, the PC version at least, like, you could tell they had put a lot of time into it, a lot of effort, a lot of attention to detail, and a lot of that stuff. So,
yeah.
If anyone from Ubisoft is watching this right now, and Assassin's Creed Syndicate is not ready, delay it.
Yeah.
Just push it back. Like,
look at what Rockstar did. They waited so long. They pushed the title back so many times, and people were pissed, and I'm sure some people will never buy the game because of it.
Yep.
But ultimately, what they came out with was a solid title that had, some bugs, but fixable ones that were tolerable at launch, and all around a really great polished game. They didn't try to polish a turd and say, here, it's ready. It wasn't unfinished.
And whereas with ISPs, we have limited number of selections, and so they can do stupid things, and we have to put up with it. With game developers, there's lots of games out there. There's a huge number of games. So the fact that there's so much selection and so many other alternatives available makes it a much tougher market.
Yeah.
So, all right, we have one more question for Sword Fight. We usually do two
What do we got?
on here.
What do we got?
Now, for the second question, I actually kind of crowdsourced because I wasn't quite sure what a good, it's hard to choose the questions for Sword Fight sometimes because we want it to be something that both of us can discuss and argue against. But I mean, I threw a Twitter request out there earlier today, and I got a ton of responses. So thanks to all you guys who responded. So much good stuff like AI, like should AI be able to make its own decisions and stuff like that. And I want to argue that stuff, but I also like if we take on something that's a little bit more heavy, like I want to make sure we've done our research and everything. And since it was getting close to showtime, I didn't pick something quite as out there. But J Pats or John O Pats sent this over, which is just how about water cooling custom loop versus all-in-one coolers. Plus, this transitions us over to some hardware, since we haven't really discussed hardware much at all on this episode so far. So the question, I need to ask you guys a straw poll. Question's pretty straightforward. If you guys do PCs, DIY PCs, then you probably have come across this question yourself.
Yeah.
When it comes to cooling the components in your computer, specifically the CPU, but this could also apply to the graphics card, which are the two kind of main heat generating components. Right. You've got your air coolers, you've got your liquid coolers as in all-in-one closed loop, or you've got your custom liquid cooling solutions. And what Kyle and I are both going to argue here is which of those is the best.
Yes.
Once we've decided this, that's all that anyone's allowed to do from this point forward. So you didn't say yet, Kyle, which one you want to argue for.
I picked the argue point on the first topic, so you pick this one.
Okay.
I'll give it to you. Take it away.
It's funny because I had actually in my head prepared for that whatever you chose. I had an alternative, but no.
Well, then you still have both.
I'm gonna go air cooling.
Okay.
I will do the air cooling route.
Damn it.
I know. I know.
All right.
So I'll start with air cooling, and that'll give you some time to choose. So
does that mean I have to choose one of the other two?
One of the other two.
Okay.
Yeah. So you don't have to choose both. You can do.
Sure.
We'll leave one of them out.
Okay.
And that one will never be spoken of again. Air cooling. Let me lay it out straight here for you guys. When it comes to cooling your CPU or your graphics card, air cooling is the best. And I'm not saying it's the best because you can get the lowest temperatures. You can't. If you want the lowest temperatures, you want to go water cooling. But if you really want the lowest temperatures, you got to go like liquid nitrogen, LN2, phase change. Liquid cooling has nothing on any of those, but those are less practical. Air cooling, when it comes to both practicality, price to performance, as well as much performance as you could possibly even need, that's all you really got to go for. Take something like we'll do 3 price ranges. $30. Hyper 212 Evo. Simple, small, well, not small, but a simple, low-priced air cooler. Does a fantastic job. Gets within 5 to 10% performance of any other type of cooling solution that you can look at outside of those exotic cooling things that I already mentioned. Take it up to like $50. You can go for some, like, you got your Intermax coolers, your Thermaltake coolers. Be Quiet has coolers in that range. There's tons of those options. Tower style coolers. They look a little bit nicer. They give a little bit more performance than that Hyper 212, and that's all you really need. Beyond that, who wants to spend more than $50 on their cooling? What? Why do you need more than that? Anything you spend over that $30 to $50 that you might get any of those simple air coolers for, what are you going to get for that? You're going to get like 0.5% more cooling. You're not going to get any better overclocking unless you're going phase change or something like that. The overclocking is going to be the same. Maybe you'll run a little bit cooler with liquid, but you're not going to overclock better. And then you're introducing the possibility of failure to other points within the loop. The closed loop coolers can break. The pump can stop. The fans are less likely to break, but you may look at the pump, and then you're looking at the potential of leaks. Now, I don't know anyone who's lost any hardware due to leaks, but I would really, really pity them poorly for that sort of thing. I'm just kidding. Kyle has dealt with this himself. I'm surprised he's still arguing on the side of.
Wasn't my choice to argue it. I left it to you.
You're right. You did. It was a terrible mistake. But the point here is liquid cooling is just a way that manufacturers have manufactured to get you guys to spend a little bit more money. And really, when it comes down to it, you don't need to do it. You're introducing more possibility for failure, and you're not getting yourself that much more performance significantly to cool your components better or provide more significant overclocking.
Well, that you make very valid arguments, Paul.
It's impossible to refute.
Now I will tell you truly why you are wrong in everything that you just said. You see, what am I arguing again? Custom water cooling.
So you're going custom.
I'm going to go custom.
Skipping over the all-in-ones.
I'm going to skip over the all-in-ones.
Actually, I predicted this in my head earlier. I can't prove that, but I did.
Oh, sure.
Okay, custom.
Whatever. Well, you might have been right about that, but you were wrong about everything else you just said. So, custom water cooling is really where it's at. Because, I mean, when you say what is better for PC cooling, you're talking about the actual cooling, right? Now, you can get significantly lower temperatures with a custom water-cooled loop than you could with an air cooler. I mean, you would have to spend at least, I don't know, $70 to $100 on a really high-end air cooler to even get kind of close to the kind of results you might see with a custom loop. But even beyond performance, right? Performance is just one thing where custom water cooling blows air cooling out of the water. The other reason why it's better is because hold your applause for the end, please. Hold your applause.
How carefully you had chosen those words. It blows air cooling out of the water.
It was all intentional.
There's so many different ways you could read that.
So many layers.
Yeah.
But anyway, the other cool thing about custom water cooling is that you get to plan out. It's just another thing that an enthusiast can look forward to doing. Mm-hmm. Building a computer, as we all know, is a glorious thing. And after that, then what? You can make little upgrades here and there. Let's say you've got a nice little air cooler in there, or even a closed-loop liquid cooler cooling down your CPU, which is great, but it's all about that next step. And I was talking to Strider about this earlier. Like, a computer, the great thing about building your own computer is that it's never really done. Mm-hmm. There's always that extra step, that extra action that you can take to make it better, to improve upon it. And if you really love PCs like you and I do, and I'm sure many of you do as well, then investing into something like liquid cooling is a great way to go, because it opens up this whole new world that you weren't even exposed to when you were building your system. But it's still in that same vein of PC enthusiast realm that you can still get your hands dirty and learn something new. And I think the activity alone and the experience is worth that premium price point that you pay, on top of the excellent performance that that again blows every alternative out of the water except for phase change cooling like LN2 and whatnot. But altogether, it's part of the experience. It's part of being an enthusiast. It's that extra step that you can take to really not only give you that experience, but also make your rig look super awesome while achieving super low temperatures in the meanwhile. So that would be my argument as to why you're wrong.
I don't even have to point out why you're wrong. Strider's already pointed out is that with the custom water cooling loop, it's really difficult to swap out hardware. But
you never said that in your argument, so it's invalid.
You're right. I didn't point that out. What I thought you were going to bring up was to like the route I was going to go if I was arguing for the custom water cooling was to accuse people of not loving their PC enough to invest in custom water cooling.
You just don't love your system.
What, you built the system, you don't even want to like go and like give it some custom water cooling.
You're gonna use
you don't even love your PC.
You're going to use the ethos on them.
CPU. All right. One request.
Yes.
Can we turn the AC on?
Okay, sure.
Please.
It is pretty hot.
Dear Lord, it's
I'm going to de-mic.
All right.
I'm de-micing.
Cal's got to de-mic for a moment.
Give me 1 sec.
In the meantime...
You're about to hear what my chest sounds like.
In the meantime, Noah Ciano asks a relevant question. How often have I swapped out hardware in the Arctic Panther? I have not swapped any out yet, but I'm about to. I need to swap the fans out. Believe it or not, that means disassembling my entire closed loop. Yeah.
Did you forget
that was another word
in
there,
the 5 seconds I was gone?
That's enough. Yeah. Oh, your chest sounds sexy, Cal, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's my chest, of course I know.
Ooh, yeah. But let's go back to our results, though. That's what we need to take a look at here.
Yes.
See what you guys thought.
Yes.
About what is better for cooling in a computer.
Yes. Yes, what is it? What did I say?
Oh, wrong button. I just reloaded chat. I hope chat actually reloads. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna hit results.
Air cooling all the way.
Air cooling for the win.
Woo!
All right, we are back in the chat room too. That's kind of what I thought, and you know. I
know. Yeah.
I was expecting air to win. That might be why I chose. Yeah. I chose to argue for air.
You're a cheater.
Yeah, the AC.
Cheap.
The AC is definitely very important as we're talking about cooling.
Yes.
So here's the thing that has occurred for me recently, and I know this is a unique problem to me and maybe some other tech reviewers out there. I actually have 4 or 5 closed loop coolers back at my little studio workspace.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't really have any air coolers. Like I have some stock ones here and there, but like. I need like a Hyper 212. Like I had one. I put it in a system, and I don't have any like
spare ones lying
decent
around.
air coolers that I can just drop onto something.
Yeah.
And
I don't have any.
The simplicity of just setting an air cooler on there. I will give one other story though. Here's something that happened to me recently. I had a SwiftTech H220 closed loop cooler, which is a very nice cooler. However, the pump on the unit stopped working.
I heard SwiftTech pumps aren't reliable.
Yeah,
I heard that from someone.
On this one, the pump just stopped working. Now, with an air cooler, even if your fan stops working and stops blowing air across the fins,
still get the passive cooling.
You're still getting some passive cooling there. However, if the pump stops working on a liquid cooler, you have no movement of the liquid through there, which means that all of the heat just pools up on your heatsink in there, and eventually it starts raising the temperature. And what I had was basically hard resets happening on my system because I didn't realize that the pump was what had failed.
Right.
I had like 3 of these before I investigated further. I was like, oh, my computer's off. What's the deal? Turned it back on, started doing something, turned off again, did one more restart and had it turn off again like a second after it booted up.
Right.
Before I finally investigated further. But what happened in that time is because it did a hard restart due to the over temperature.
It's like an auto failsafe type thing.
But it did it during the BIOS initialization of my RAID array, and I lost my RAID configuration.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me that.
And it was a pretty significant, like, aw, damn it. Like, I didn't lose too much data because I have a RAID 0 and a RAID 1 array. I lost some of the stuff on the RAID 0 that I had not copied to the RAID 1 yet. The RAID 1 stuff I was able to recover entirely. But it was an interesting situation that popped up where I was like, wow, that was a closed loop liquid cooler causing me to potentially lose data and have a really big issue other than just, oh, my computer shut down or something like that. So just something to throw out there for you guys. And that is one of the reasons why lately I've been like, man, the simplicity of just, your basic tower-style air cooler still has a lot of value.
It will last you forever.
Yeah, and it'll last you
take
forever.
Care of
Okay, let's move on, though, to tech news. I have
tech
some tech news
news
stories to talk about, and then we're going to move on to Cal's half of the show.
All right.
We're roughly on time, right?
What do we got? No.
We've been about an hour so far, so we're a little over.
This will be another half hour.
We usually go over. All right, let's start out by the big news that lots of people have been talking about. That's Verizon agreeing to buy AOL.
Yeah.
For $4.4 billion.
No big.
Or 2.8 billion pounds, since this is a Hexus.net article that we're looking at right now. Verizon Communications Incorporated will buy AOL Inc. and a $4.4 billion deal announced just a few hours ago.
Okay.
And then there's other stuff like, look an AOL logon thing. This is the newer one too.
I know.
I remember like the different variations of the AOL dial-up logon screen as they progressed over time, from like 1995 to 1997 or something like that.
Did you know, fun fact, my parents still use AOL email service.
Interesting.
It's horrible.
Then they must be one of the, how many people?
Their email service is still locked in 1995.
Yeah,
I'll let you know. It's terrible.
So apart from that email service, which is free.
Yeah.
That was their they had to offer downgrade plans when everything started to go towards broadband.
Yeah.
So there's still 2.1 million people paying for dial-up subscription to AOL in the United States.
Wow.
That's kind of interesting, I guess.
Wow.
But the real point here.
That's insane.
Is that Verizon bought them, I guess. So yeah, why? Why did they buy them?
Why?
That's a question.
Why?
According to them, to drive future growth with an eye on digital and video platforms and the Internet of Things. It sounds vaguely corporate.
Very vague, yep.
Last night, AOL shares closed at about $42. Now they're up to $50.
Woo!
So we can say, according to the stock market, this appears to be a good thing, at least for AOL.
Yep.
That's as offered by Verizon, 17.4% premium after Monday's closing price. The deal also includes $300 million of AOL debt that Verizon is taking on, and will start as a tender offer, followed by a merger, and then, quote, with AOL becoming a wholly owned subsidiary of Verizon over time. Already mentioned AOL still has 2.1 million paying dial-up subscribers, but they also mentioned that this side of the business is falling off.
Right.
Like that's a steadily decreasing number.
That's insane.
Dial-up. And then big name, popular AOL brand website. So this is a question I get most often when AOL comes up is like, they're still around? Like, they're still there?
I was asking that earlier.
AOL was huge. They were so freaking huge. You remember AOL Time Warner?
Yeah.
Like, they were big enough that when they merged with Time Warner, that AOL had to still be part of the name.
Yeah.
Now, AOL, because they were so big, any company that gets that big, they don't just stick with like AOL and their core services. They typically branch out. So that's how AOL has kind of maintained some of its value over time, is that AOL actually owns several popular websites that you guys might be familiar with. The Huffington Post is one of them. TechCrunch is another one. Engadget is another one. I'm sure you guys have heard of them. Makers, as well as advertising.com and AOL.com. That's just a short list of some of the more well-known ones.
Yep.
And you were reading something on TechCrunch earlier, weren't you?
Yeah.
Did you gather any information from there?
All I gathered was that it was funny because
Okay.
there was a TechCrunch journalist interviewing the CEO of TechCrunch,
Yeah.
like his boss's 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 boss.
That's kind of funny.
On whether or not the company would be changing or if they would be selling. And according to the CEO, no, they will not be selling TechCrunch. It's still going to be around, and they're going to be focusing still on content creation.
That's good. I like TechCrunch. They
Me
do
too.
some good articles over there. And yeah, I guess that pretty much wraps it up. One other point to make is that AOL, to harken back to when AOL was still huge, they were bought by Time Warner in the year 2000 for $160 billion. $4.4 billion right now.
Jesus.
But in 2000, $160 billion. So that just shows you, in the tech world and the online world, as things move and turn over so quickly, how a company can and you go back 10 years before that, they didn't exist.
Right.
Maybe, right, and then that'd be 1990, or didn't exist, or we're just starting.
Things are happening
They
quickly.
were just a glimmer. So they got so huge so quickly, but then they also fell off so quickly. So
Right.
yeah, you gotta keep up with the times when it comes to the tech world.
Yeah.
I guess that's the.
So wait, so does this mean has AOL been a part of Time Warner this whole time?
That's actually something that I meant to pull up for this article that I don't know.
Okay.
There was a merger. AOL Time Warner was a thing, but
Yeah.
I think they have since either AOL was... Because this is just AOL. This has nothing to do with Time Warner.
Right.
And I don't know as far as what
timeline
what
type
massive
thing.
conglomerate owned what.
Yeah.
Who still owned AOL
It's
or when
kind
they were
of
sold off or anything
blurred.
like that. So
Okay.
yeah, sorry, there's a bit of unknown in the middle there.
Cool.
All right, tech news. Look, this is the first actual piece, like hardware thing. No, I guess we talked about the air cooling stuff. That was
True.
hardware based.
True.
All right, G.Skill. Here's an article from Maximum PC about G.Skill. Are you guys excited for faster DDR4 memory?
I am.
Maybe you could be. I'll give you a reason why. In just
I'm
a minute.
excited.
All right, so G.Skill has now. Is this just announced, or is this actually
just
available
announced,
for
like,
sale?
Yesterday. No, today. It's not available for sale.
Yeah,
yet.
not available for sale yet because pricing has not been mentioned here. All right, so G.Skill has a 3666 megahertz memory kit, DDR4.
That is the fastest,
That's
I
pretty-
think.
that's pretty
DDR4 kit
Now,
available.
that's now we're not talking like this is a kit that can be overclocked to this. They're saying they're selling this.
Rated
You
at.
plug in the XMP values, and this is what it will run at, assuming your processor can handle it, which I haven't heard much about that actually though.
If the processor can handle that speed?
Well, because like when Ivy Bridge came out, for example, the IMCs in Ivy Bridge were much better than the Sandy Bridge IMCs, so they could run
Right.
higher DDR3 speeds.
But I think they've already validated it on the Gigabyte SoC board.
Yes, they validate it, but it's still an overclock speed. So overclock speeds can be validated on the board, and the kit's validated to run at that speed, but your CPU also needs to be able to handle that memory overclock too.
Wouldn't the CPU be able to handle it if the motherboard could?
No, not always.
But I mean, I'm guessing they tested
It's
it with
a-
the CPU
They
installed.
tested it with that motherboard. The testing with the motherboard is really a minor thing because the IMC is still part of the CPU. Yeah.
So they tested it without a CPU installed?
No. What are you talking about?
Wait, what do you mean? Like, so it's validated for the motherboard but not the CPU, but when they were validating
No.
it for the CPU...
G.Skill validated this. All right, so the Gigabyte X99 SoC Champion
Yeah.
is the Gigabyte X99 motherboard that they did that has the DIMM slots a little bit closer to the CPU.
Yeah.
It's actually out of spec, and it's got 4 DIMM slots, and it's really made like it's a board they designed specifically for like
LN2
crazy memory
shit.
overclocking in mind.
Yeah.
Like it's almost impractical in some ways how it was built for that. So that's why they're saying it's validated on that.
Okay.
It's because Gigabyte wants memory to be validated with this motherboard because it's the motherboard they designed for memory overclocking.
Right.
That's why that's there. The motherboard aside, though, if this was validated on an MSI board, an Asus board, a Gigabyte board, or whatever,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. What we're talking about is the memory being validated to run at this speed, and they can test that memory with any CPU they choose, as long as it's an Intel, it's a 5960X or a CPU within,
Haswell-E,
within that
basically.
class. And but Intel, with the CPU on the CPU side, only validates the CPU to run it with memory within a certain speed.
Right.
And usually there'll be a range.
Based on the IMC. yeah.
So for DDR4, I think it's like 2133 to like 2800 or 2666 or something like that. I'm not positive here, so
Okay.
forgive me if I'm wrong. Now, what I'm not sure about is how good the IMCs are on Haswell-E CPUs, just kind of in general.
Right.
Because I know, like, when the higher frequency DDR3 memory was coming out, and Ivy Bridge launched,
There were some
that
issues
was
there.
really there wasn't issues. Ivy Bridge was cool because the IMCs and the Ivy Bridge CPUs were improved to work with higher frequency memory.
Oh, compared to Sandy
Yeah.
Bridge, yeah.
So when you buy a memory kit like this one and it says DDR4 3666,
Right.
you can take that and you can plug in the XMP values and then you can fail the boot if you have a crappy CPU that doesn't have very good memory overclocking.
Right.
And in fact, I dealt with this on Z80s, the 87,
Yeah.
because I would have a system where I would plug in the XMP values at 2400.
Yeah.
I was swapping memory out, and I had memory kit in with XMP enabled, and then I swapped it for a higher frequency, actually a G.Skill like 2400 speed kit.
Yeah.
And since it was trying to run the memory at that speed, but the CPU couldn't handle it, it failed to boot.
But isn't the crappiest CPU we're talking about here that would be used with this kit a 5820K?
Yes.
Okay.
But crappiness, quote unquote, of the CPU as far as the CPU's rated speeds has nothing to do with the actual rated, with how well or like what the level of performance that the CPU's integrated memory controller can provide to you.
But wouldn't it be the same as a 5960X?
No.
No.
Well, on some level, yes. But all Intel is promising you when you buy a 5820K or a 5960X is they're saying this works with DDR4 memory within this range.
Right.
3666, at least as far as I know, is outside of that range.
Okay.
So granted, you could buy this, and I would guess, at least at this point, because Haswell-E has been a really good performer so far, that most of the chips you plug this in with and it would work.
Yeah.
But there's going to be some, potentially, that aren't good overclockers, or even just the IMC isn't good because there's variances in manufacturing, so you might not always be able to run the speed memory.
I see.
But again, that's something that I haven't looked at a lot of numbers on and testing and results and stuff like on a wider scale with Haswell-E. So who knows? Maybe all of the Haswell-E CPUs have no problem with higher frequency memory. Right. But I don't really know. I'm kind of going back to
what's been
what I've known in the past. Okay. A little bit of information on IMCs there.
Sweet.
Okay. One more news story, and that is from Intel.
All right, what do we got?
Oh yeah.
Cannonlake.
Cannonlake.
I have not heard much about Cannonlake.
Haven't heard Cannonlake before? Alright, so here's some new Intel leaks. These are pretty recent. 10 nanometer Cannonlake CPUs to launch by Q3 2016.
Wow.
These are on the mobile side.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's less exciting. And of course they put the title, this is from VR Zone by the way, big title across the top, Intel 10 nanometer Cannonlake CPUs, and then they put like a generic picture of like an Ivy Bridge CPU, like socketed
Google
CPU,
imaged,
which is not what they're talking about.
Oh, right. It's LGA.
Yeah, so let's look at this.
Post the LGA
image
there.
Here. Hold on, I right-clicked you. I should get a menu that pops up when I right-click. Apparently that doesn't work here. It's been disabled.
Uh-oh.
All right, I was trying to show you guys.
You can't zoom either. Oh wait, yeah, you can.
I can. It gets smaller. I just zoomed it to 150 and it gets smaller.
Press another button. There you go.
This is terrible.
Getting bigger now.
And I can't right-click. Come on, VR Zone. All right, you're stupid. Anyway, article here from the excellent folks over at VR Zone, and this is a leaked slide. All right, this source is actually from Mustapeka.
Okay.
Down there, which is in a foreign language, which is why I brought up VR Zone. But look at this chart right here.
What do we got?
You guys looking at this chart?
What do we got?
Okay. I should point this way. For them, it's on this side. Look at that chart up there. Okay, so this is the roadmap. It's going all the way back to 2013 and all the way forward through 2016. Now, here's interesting things I noticed. Look at this little chart.
What did you notice?
The first off, obviously, is the Cannonlake stuff. So, Skylake is the successor to Broadwell. Cannonlake is the successor to Skylake.
Yes.
Yes. We're expecting 10 nanometer process CPUs by Q3 of next year. But if you look at this chart, the top two rows there in the gray, that's your HEDT, that's high-end desktop.
Okay.
And then you have traditional desktop below that. Those are the ones we really care about. Below that, you have all their mobile chips.
No one cares.
Those are BGA or ball grid.
Ball grid array.
Yeah, ball grid array.
Yeah.
And they're lower wattage, so you got the M processor line at 47 watts, the U processor 15 to 25 watts, and the Y, which is 6 watts or less. And then you go all the way down to the bottom where you have the Cedar Trail, Bay Trail stuff.
Yeah.
Which I mean is cool for certain applications, but we're talking about build your own system, so that's all we care about. Now, so concentrate on those top two lines, right? The high-end desktop and the traditional desktop.
Mm-hmm.
You notice anything missing between Haswell and Skylake for traditional desktop?
Where's Broadwell?
Where's Broadwell?
I don't know.
There's no Broadwell there.
Is that like the bastard child of Intel? Like,
apparently.
It's like the Jon Snow of...
So you guys can... Yeah, so if you're looking at the lower charts, you can see that Broadwell has been available on the mobile platform for quite some time, so you can buy laptops that have Broadwell going on in there.
Right.
But on this roadmap, they've completely removed Broadwell from the traditional desktop.
That's
now,
interesting.
When when Z97 launched last year, and we had the Haswell refresh, and people were buying Z97 boards, Intel was like, guys, if you're buying Z97 right now, you get your Haswell refresh, your Devil's Canyon, drop it in there. It's all good. But don't worry, because there's also Broadwell coming up next year, and you'll be able to drop that in too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from what I've heard, there is still going to be some Broadwell, like a tiny little bit on the desktop.
2 SKUs, I think.
Yeah, like maybe a couple. But it's not going to be like your fully unlocked K SKUs. And if you're looking at what Intel's got going on here, then...
They're C SKUs, I think.
Yeah, they're like C's.
I'm not sure what
weird.
that is.
I don't even know what the heck it is. I don't know how much of that detail we can even talk about, Kyle.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be like any letter of the alphabet.
It could be anything.
Yeah.
We didn't know any of that stuff.
C or G SKUs.
But the point is, if you're looking forward to possibly dropping a new CPU into your existing Z97 board, this is probably not going to happen, I guess.
Right.
4790K appears to be the top dog on there. So good news for people who invested in a 4790K back when it launched, I guess.
True.
Apart from that, we do have Skylake coming later this year. We're not expecting it for Computex, but we should be seeing some preview stuff at Computex, so I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Nice.
And then the final kind of exciting thing to point out here, which is if you look at that top line, which I know I'm not showing anymore, which is the Enthusiasts line, and we do have a Skylake-E.
Right at the beginning of Q3.
Q3 20, so about halfway through 2016, we might have a Skylake-E SKU that pops in there as well. And that could
Wait, does it say Skylake-E?
No, but it's high-end desktop, so that's what it would be.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it doesn't specifically say Skylake-E.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
And then my only last question was going to be, will Skylake-E be compatible with LGA 2011-3 and X99? I would guess yes, because with Sandy Bridge and Ivy Bridge, that's how they did it.
Right.
So yeah, but there's not going to be Broadwell E apparently. It's going to go Haswell E to Skylake-E.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, so I think what this really harkens back to though is kind of the rejiggering that Intel has done with their roadmaps, and I think it's very much in response to the competition that AMD has provided them on the desktop side. So I wouldn't be surprised if Intel's has the potential to even shuffle this up a little bit more. Right. But I think what everyone's really looking forward to, at least from the AMD side, is next year when Zen architecture releases. They actually have a new CPU architecture,
right?
x86 for like the first time in forever.
Yep.
But anyway, that's all for my half of the show.
All right.
Indeed.
Brilliant.
So what we're gonna do is take a very short break. If you guys are watching us live, stick around. We still have Kyle's half of the show. It's not quite as good as my half of the show, but it's still worth staying around.
And Paul's alive.
I'll still be here. Other than that, though, if you're watching this in the future, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to both of our channels for more fantastic technological videos. And then there's also going to be a link where you can head over to Kyle's channel to watch episode 12, half B.
Dash B.
Dash B.
Part B. Side B.
Part B. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we'll be back in just a moment, folks.
See you guys in a bit.
We'll see you very, very soon. Yeah.
Don't touch that dial.